A few months ago, I attempted to make my own third-person perspective camera setup in the real world using a DIY setup of VR and cameras. Now, at the end of the video, the proof of concept didn't go all that well, but I think it's about time to get back and revisit this project and attempt to fix it and make it even better. So there are two overarching issues with my previous proof of concept. My DIY Google Cardboard headset was not very good, and the video I was attempting to show through it was not correctly set up for viewing in VR. The first problem was an easy fix. I went onto Facebook Marketplace and found a Google Daydream headset for pretty cheap. I actually got two of them for $30, which, given that I have Google phones, make this all a perfect solution for me. So with the headset sorted out now, I needed to move on to the more difficult task of splitting up the video into two parts and applying some slight alterations to them so they would be viewable by each eye independently, and they would match up to seem as if they were one video. Before that though, in the previous video, I used a separate piece of software called Raspberry Pi Cam Web Interface to provide the live video. But after doing some digging, I found that the heart of this live stream video was a program called RaspiMJPEG. Essentially, it's like a hybrid between RaspiStill and RaspiVid. For this use case, it's configured to capture images at a specified frame rate and put the captured image into a RAM buffer. This RAM buffer is of course much faster than saving to the SD card and allows us to continually access the image in the RAM buffer and send it over the air to the connected device, giving us the perception of a live video. Now there are a lot more things that RaspiMJPEG can do, but this is its core functionality. This time, instead of using Raspberry Pi Cam Web Interface, I decided to make support for RaspiMJPEG directly into my Raspberry Pi Action Camera project code because honestly, why not? The biggest thing is it will give me a much better solution for the camera preview in the web control panel. After some fiddling around and searching for how to actually use the RaspiMJPEG program, I finally had it working and now powering the redesigned camera preview page that I had just mentioned. Okay, so we have the video feed, but now we have to split it and apply some filters so that it can be perceived correctly in the Google Daydream headset. For that, I went looking around Google and came across this article which actually goes over doing exactly just that. Taking the video from Raspberry Pi and making it into a VR output in JavaScript. Bonus points is that they are using the exact same Raspberry Pi Cam Web Interface that I am basically branching from. It was a little confusing as the article does reference some base code that was created in another article to actually create the VR environment, but after doing a lot of copying and pasting and then tweaking for my use case, I had the video up and working. So now all that was left was to basically reassemble everything from my previous proof of concept video. I did make a change and printed out different extensions for the camera in order to make everything lighter, but also did not have the weird 90-degree connection ends. Another change I made that I wanted to do was to use the lighter and cheaper HDMI cable because it's much easier to manage as it's not as stiff. The only problem is that, like I mentioned in my previous video, these passive CSI to HDMI converters don't work on all the cheaper HDMI cables if they're missing a certain ground wire in them. But, like I mentioned again in my previous video, there is a possible solution. By soldering a connecting wire between the ground on the PCB and the HDMI plug housing, we can fix that missing ground and allow the cheaper HDMI cables to work. So now it's time to test out the video and see how it works. I started out with the same really cropped video I had experienced in my previous video, but once I switched the video width and height to match the max sensor region as outlined by the camera specs, I was able to see a lot more, and I was even able to reduce the number of extensions to only 3, making the rig a whole much more stable in my head. The good times would end there, however, as my hacked together VR viewer JS code was just not good enough, and the video did not line up and gave me this weird double vision. But the video was much clearer this time around, so things were a little more promising. Tossing out my makeshift VR support, I began digging around on Google for an alternative method, focusing mainly on the Daydream and its VR environment when I happened to come across a site talking about something called WebXR. Now, unfortunately, WebXR has been discontinued, but in its place, WebXR was created in 2018, and its API is now the heart of VR and AR on the web today. Luckily for me, Three.js, which is the driving force behind my previous faked VR support, has support for WebXR, and with only a little bit of hassle, I was able to redo all of my code to support this API and get my video rendered in the world of VR and working more beautifully than I could have ever imagined. This is still sort of fake VR though, as the video is actually only getting rendered in a HUD-like environment like in a video game, so it doesn't move in the VR world, but most importantly, it's set up correctly so that my eyes work together to stitch the image together instead of seeing a weird double image. Alright, quick interruption here, I'm actually currently editing the video right now, and I wanted to interrupt and say this is kind of where everything went wrong with this video. What was supposed to be right here was basically video and footage of me trying out the VR setup outside, kind of just seeing how it works out. I even put rollerblades on because I was like, it's probably me. I can do it, you know, walking and whatnot. So I was like, rollerblades make it harder, just more challenge. But basically, what happened is the phone that was recording the video for my headset, like my VR headset, it was displaying the VR but also recording that screen. That froze and ended up crashing, so I lost all the footage from that. I had my personal phone recording the preview of what the camera was seeing, and that worked until the screen dimmed or the screen turned off, and basically the screen recorder just recorded nothing. Seems like a weird feature that doesn't keep the screen always on, but either way, there's that. And then the third camera I had, which was just my regular camera that was pointed outside to kind of just capture me kind of going around. I was never in frame for that because I never really left my garage. So really I don't have very much footage. I have a very small amount of footage I'll put right here of kind of showing off what happened. This doesn't really kind of show correctly how I was seeing it. My view was much different than that. The quality was much lower, obviously, than this, but the overall frame rate was much higher. Because I had two devices both getting video from the Pi, the frame rate was basically halved, so the frame rate was basically split between the two from other things. But TLDR, it was okay, it went well, but yeah, things went wrong from here. So I'm still going to play the outro I recorded basically right after I finished doing it, but before I do the fate of the video. So I'm gonna still play that here, but yeah, so sorry that the rest of this video is kind of wonky and off, but yeah, I gotta make do, right? Alrighty, so that definitely did not go like I was expecting it to be. I guess a few things, I mean, well, before we go further, it was a lot better than last time. Let's start with there. That was a lot better than last time. I could actually see what was happening around me. I could actually make out what was happening around me. Like, I didn't feel like I couldn't understand the environment around me. Definitely I could do that. I feel like if I wasn't on roller skates, I feel like the rollerblades were a bit ambitious. I feel like if I was just on my regular shoes, it definitely would have been a lot more manageable. I think the rollerblades made it a lot harder. But yeah, so the rollerblades aside, overall it worked. It definitely just wasn't the best. I think to compare this thing, the best comparison is it's like FPV. If you were doing like FPV stuff of like drones or just anything like that, the video and like the feeling is a lot similar to that. I think the name of the game with this is that it needs tweaking. It needs a lot of tweaking. It needs a lot of kind of finicking with the settings, just improve it. The quality I think just wasn't quite the best. I think it just needs some change to the bit rates or just kind of just tweaking there. I think it wasn't bad. I think it just wasn't kind of configured well enough. So I'm not gonna call this I'm not gonna call this a failure. I definitely think it was not a failure. The first version of this was a failure. This one was just good, but not good enough to really kind of I don't know that it wasn't good enough, I guess is the best way to explain this. But yeah, so hopefully things worked out well enough. Unfortunately, my phone that I was using to record the preview video of this the screen went blank. I was just using a screen recorder. The screen went blank because it turned off. So unfortunately, I forgot about that. So I got the very beginning of the video and then nothing after that. The phone that was in the VR, I'm still holding it. It's still stuck on the frozen screen. I'm going to figure that out. Hopefully the video from this isn't corrupt or anything. Hopefully it's still there. I guess you'll find out, or I guess by now you'll have already known if it worked or not, whether or not it was before this. So hopefully that there. I should still have the videos from this camera, although there's not really much to show from this camera. I guess that you have the audio from it. Yeah, it just did not go as I expected, but overall, I think it went okay. Again, better than last time, very much improvement, but still not much more than a proof of concept. But at any rate, hopefully you still enjoyed this. Hopefully this journey's been fun. Again, links to everything will be down below. If there's anything else, just let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing if you see more like it. Any comments, questions, or what have you, suggestions, leave them down below. I will be sure to reply to them. But that's all I got for today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I covered everything, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Peace out.